Before checking the trap, no one could be certain what was waiting ahead. There were times when the team returned believing they would find an unexpectedly rewarding result, only to be met with silence and disappointment. Yet there were also moments when everything changed overnight in ways no one could have predicted. That sense of uncertainty is what makes every trap inspection feel like opening one of nature's own mystery boxes. In today's video, we'll look back at the 5 most memorable trap inspections, with the number 1 spot featuring the moment that left the entire team completely stunned when they returned to the site. Coming in at number 5 was a trap set on a piece of land frequently visited by wild boars. Fresh footprints, churned up soil, and broken bushes all suggested that the herd had been passing through almost every night. The trap was prepared late in the afternoon, after which the team left and allowed nature to take its course. Early the next morning, just as the sun was rising, they returned feeling both nervous and hopeful. Even from a considerable distance, they noticed that the trap was no longer in its original position. That could only mean one thing: it had been triggered during the night. After reaching the site and handling the situation, the team quickly completed the retrieval and transported the captured wild boars out of the area. It was an encouraging result, but it was only the beginning. Next on the list was a trap placed well before the herd's peak activity period to maximize the chances of success. After carefully checking every detail, the team left the site and waited patiently. By late afternoon, they returned to inspect the trap. This time, the results revealed a much higher population of wild boars than they had originally expected. A swift retrieval operation was carried out before nightfall. Everyone believed this was already a remarkable success, but they had no idea that even greater surprises were still waiting ahead. The third-ranked location sat at the boundary between 2 completely different environments. On one side stood a dense forest, while on the other was an open area where fresh tracks appeared regularly. For experienced hunters, this was almost the perfect wildlife travel corridor. The trap was positioned precisely along that route. When the team returned to inspect it, they could hardly contain their excitement. The outcome far exceeded their expectations and quickly became one of the most impressive catches featured in the entire video. After finishing their work, everyone believed it would be difficult for any other trap to surpass that achievement. However, the runner-up told a completely different story. This trap had inspired high expectations from the very beginning. But when the team arrived the following morning, their excitement quickly gave way to disappointment. After all the anticipation, the result amounted to only 4 wild boars. While it wasn't a failure, the number fell far short of what everyone had hoped for. What made the story even more remarkable was that the team refused to see it as the end. After clearing the site, they decided to reset the very same trap later that day. As night fell, movement alerts began appearing once again on the monitoring device. Shadowy figures slowly approached the trap, their numbers growing larger than before, and then the trap was triggered once again. When the team returned to inspect it, they could hardly believe what they were seeing. After nothing more than a simple reset, the results exceeded every expectation they had before. The very trap that had once left the entire team disappointed unexpectedly produced the most impressive catch of all, earning its place at number 1 on today's list. It also served as a clear reminder that nothing is ever certain when it comes to checking traps. Some days, things simply don't go as planned, while at other times, a single small decision can completely change the outcome.
Don't come to me. It's wrong.
In just one night, a field in central Texas was turned into a churned-up wasteland, rows of crops overturned as if a massive plow had passed through in the darkness. The estimated damage exceeded $60,000, and by sunrise, all that remained were dense tracks and completely destroyed patches of soil. With no other option, the farmer was forced to shift from defense to proactive control. But the question still lingered: could a single solution stop the entire herd, or would everything repeat the next night? The data from cameras and ground traces quickly revealed one thing: the herd was not moving randomly. They returned to the exact same route, the exact same point. An open area right at the edge of the field was selected as the trap location. A circular steel system was assembled with a diameter of nearly 10 meters, creating a space large enough for the entire herd to enter without feeling pressured. No gaps, no suspicious elements. Everything was designed to resemble a naturally safe zone. Steel panels were secured with deep-driven posts, strong enough to withstand the impact of fully grown boars. At the center of the trap, Dozens of kilograms of corn were spread out daily. But the key factor was not the amount of bait, it was timing. For the first 4 nights, the gate remained fully open. The boars began to return, first as cautious scouts, then gradually the entire herd entered and fed without hesitation. Cameras captured every step, from initial hesitation to complete comfort moving inside the trap area. That was the critical moment, when suspicion disappeared. On the 5th night, everything changed. Once the entire herd had moved deep inside, the operator monitored remotely via phone. With a single signal sent, the steel gate dropped instantly. No loud noise, no prolonged chaos, just a brief moment, and the entire herd was contained inside. Every escape route vanished, and their only chance was gone in an instant. The result exceeded expectations. 37 wild boars captured in a single operation. The total estimated weight surpassed 3,000 pounds. But the real value was not in the numbers, it was in completely breaking the herd's return cycle. If only individual animals were removed, the rest would quickly adapt and become harder to approach. But when the entire herd is controlled at once, the cycle of destruction is effectively stopped. However, the damage caused by wild boars goes far beyond torn-up soil. They also carry invisible risks, from infectious diseases that can spread to livestock, to disruptions across the entire farming ecosystem.
Oh my God!
When they penetrate deep into livestock areas, they can become carriers of biological threats that farmers cannot manage through conventional means. More dangerously, when cornered, large adult boars can react with extreme aggression. Weighing hundreds of kilograms and capable of powerful impacts, they pose a threat not only to crops but to human safety. That is why control must be carried out remotely, using automated systems, rather than direct confrontation. When the operation ended, the field gradually returned to silence. standing on the land that had just been reclaimed. The farmer understood this was more than a single success. It was a shift in approach. No more reactive responses, no more chasing losses. Instead, strategic control, calculated execution, and enough force to stop the problem at its source. And in that silence, one thing became clear. In nature, the most dangerous threat is not what appears suddenly, but what returns every night, precise, repetitive, and increasingly difficult to stop, until humans decide to change how they confront it.
For decades now, farmers and ranchers have struggled to control the rising population of destructive and dangerous feral hogs.
Brazil is facing one of the most alarming biological invasions ever recorded. A unique hybrid type of pig, covered in a natural armor, made of scar tissue and hardened fat up to 5 centimeters thick, is rendering most traditional control methods ineffective. They can breach electric fences, evade traps, and reproduce at an astonishing rate, up to 20 piglets per litter. Their presence not only disrupts forest ecosystems, but also poses a serious risk of spreading disease, directly impacting the global food supply chain. The origins of this situation date back to the early 20th century, when European wild boars were introduced to South America for hunting purposes. Already known for their resilience, they gradually adapted to the new environment. When hunting farms were no longer maintained, these animals escaped into the wild and began expanding their range. The turning point came when they crossbred with domestic pigs, animals known for their high reproductive capacity. This combination didn't weaken them. Instead, it created a hybrid with both wild strength and rapid growth. The result is the Java porco, a population that can reach up to 300 kilograms per individual, with exceptional physical power and adaptability. One of their most notable features is the dense subdermal structure composed of scar tissue, hardened fat, and tightly connected muscle layers, functioning as a natural shield that significantly reduces the impact of conventional control measures. In addition, their tusks are constantly sharpened through natural friction, becoming highly effective defensive tools. Beyond their physical advantages, they exhibit strong adaptability, living in organized groups led by experienced females who can memorize vast territories and adjust behavior when facing threats. As a result, their impact goes far beyond foraging, extending into environmental damage, as their rooting behavior alters soil structure, disrupts ecosystems, affects water sources, and increases the risk of transmitting diseases to livestock and humans if not properly controlled. In this context, large-scale control methods have been implemented with a completely different approach. Instead of causing disruption, trap systems are designed to blend into the natural environment. Steel posts are arranged in a wide circular formation, not fully enclosed from the start. There is no sudden drop mechanism or anything that might trigger panic. Every detail is designed to create a sense of familiarity and safety. Food is initially placed outside the area, then gradually moved deeper inside over time. This process continues without direct human intervention, allowing the herd to develop a natural habit of entering the space. Once familiarity reaches a stable level, the entire group begins to move into the trap area as part of their normal behavior. At this stage, human involvement truly begins, through remote monitoring systems using cameras. Operators patiently wait for a single moment, when every individual is fully inside the controlled area. No animals left outside. No unexpected variables. Only when this condition is met is the decision made. The activation mechanism is quick and precise. The gate closes in an instant, forming a fully enclosed space with no gaps. However, behind that moment lies a preparation process that can take days, even weeks. If triggered too early, part of the herd will escape and change their behavior. If too late, the opportunity may be lost. This is not a race against time, but a coordination of observation, analysis, and perfect timing. The entire process demands patience and minimizes human presence to the greatest extent possible. There are no sudden interventions, and the environment is kept unchanged to maintain a natural feel. It is this stillness that allows the herd to continue its routine, while in reality, every movement is carefully calculated. When the moment comes, a single precise action is enough to complete the entire operation.
Load up! Load up! Load up!
In just one night, the entire field seemed to be wiped out by something moving in the darkness. There was no warning, no clear sound. Everything happened so silently that no one noticed. By the next morning, when helicopters began scanning the area, the scale of the damage only became visible from above. Long strips of disturbed soil appeared like cuts slicing across the field, stretching from the forest edge deep into the production area. And this was not an isolated case. Within just a few weeks, the damage surged. Some areas recorded more than 30% of crops affected. And in the United States, total annual losses caused by wild boars exceed $2.5 billion. These numbers did not appear overnight. They accumulated from small, repeating signs, upturned soil, damaged crop rows, expanding empty patches. When everything repeats long enough, it is no longer an incident, but a pattern silently taking shape. Wild boars do not move randomly. They learn and remember extremely quickly. Once they identify an area with a stable food source, they will return along the exact same route. Surveillance cameras show that the herd often appears at the same time, moves in the same direction, and stops at familiar points. This means that without a proper strategy, any temporary prevention becomes meaningless. More importantly, with every failed attempt to intercept them, they grow more cautious. Once they learned the risk, controlling them becomes significantly more difficult. Instead of continuing passive defense, a large-scale trapping system began to be deployed. The location was not chosen randomly, but based on data collected over many consecutive days. An open area located directly along the herd's main travel route was identified as the optimal point. Here, steel posts were driven deep into the ground, forming a circular frame large enough to contain the entire herd if they entered at once. The spacing between the posts was precisely calculated to eliminate weak points. The entire structure had to be strong enough to withstand simultaneous impacts from multiple adult animals. Once the frame was completed, steel mesh panels were secured around it, creating an enclosed space that still felt open enough to avoid suspicion. Every detail was handled carefully, minimizing human scent as much as possible. Then, the most critical phase began: baiting. Fermented corn was spread in a long trail, starting from outside and leading deep into the center of the trap. The scent dispersed lightly, enough to attract without raising alarm. The amount of bait was gradually increased each day to build a sense of complete safety. Any unusual signs were eliminated, ensuring the herd had no reason to distrust the area. During the first nights, the trap was not activated. The herd was allowed to get used to the location, moving in and out freely without encountering any obstacles. Cameras recorded each animal entering, feeding, and leaving calmly. This was the key step. Only when they completely lowered their guard would the opportunity to control the entire herd truly appear. At the right moment, when the number of individuals entering at the same time reached its peak, the trap mechanism was finally triggered. The gate dropped instantly, sealing off all exits. The silence was broken immediately. The herd panicked, charging in all directions, trying to escape. The ground shook under their weight and constant impact. But this time, there were no gaps left to exploit. The system had been designed to contain the entire herd, leaving no individuals outside. And the real change did not lie in the moment the trap closed, but in the nights that followed. No more repeated movements on the cameras. No more tracks stretching along the fences. The field returned to stillness, a different kind of stillness than before, not the calm before damage, but the calm after the cycle had been broken. For the farmers, it was not just a successful control effort. It was the first time they had truly regained control. More than 150 pounds of solid muscle, razor-sharp tusks, and an out-of-control breeding rate are turning large farming regions into real battlefields. Traditional steel traps are slowly losing their effectiveness against wild boar herds that are becoming smarter and far more cautious. As a wildlife control team in Texas, we understand that this fight cannot be won through brute force alone.
Let me just lean down. On foot.
That's when Pig Brig entered the picture, a soft net trapping system that is flexible yet almost impossible to break. The entire team immediately got to work. Each person took their position, moving together with the precision of a system we had practiced countless times before. Heavy hammers slammed repeatedly into the ground, driving steel posts more than 7 feet deep into the hard soil. The pig brig net was carefully suspended into place while fermented corn bait was spread from the outer edge all the way to the center of the trap. Near the edge of the forest, a large herd of wild boars quickly appeared after dark. They eagerly pushed toward the fermented corn scattered deep inside the net without realizing the danger waiting ahead. Out in the shadows, a few scout hogs remained perfectly still, constantly sniffing the air, listening, and studying every small movement before deciding to move forward.
Mine.
The next morning, we returned to the site to inspect the results. The instant the herd spotted human figures approaching, panic exploded inside the trap. Wild boars of every size charged wildly in every direction, repeatedly slamming into the net walls in desperate attempts to escape. But every effort was useless. The soft net absorbed the full force of each collision and bounced right back without tearing apart. After several days, we noticed the herd beginning to change its travel routes. Because of that, a new trap site was set up in an open area between the forest and the farmland. During the early stage, the bottom edge of the net was rolled upward to create a sense of safety. Bait continued to be spread from outside to inside, allowing the boars to move freely in and out without resistance. This was the most important step, gradually convincing the herd that the trap was simply another harmless part of the environment. When the cameras finally sent an alert, a group of hogs weighing around 80 pounds slowly approached the site. They stood outside for a long time, constantly sniffing along the edge of the net before cautiously lowering their heads to eat small amounts of bait. But eventually, the lure of the food overcame their fear. They pushed their snouts deeper, then slowly stepped completely inside the trap. Everything happened so quietly that the herd barely realized the entrance had closed behind them. The following morning, under the blazing sunlight covering the empty field, we walked toward the trap with that familiar feeling of anticipation. Inside was pure chaos. The entire herd was desperately fighting to escape. Dust exploded into the air as the heavy bodies smashed repeatedly against the steel post system. We stayed patient for several more days, allowing the boars to become completely comfortable with the presence of the net. Once we confirmed they had started willingly entering the trap to feed, I lowered the net further but intentionally left a small opening at the entrance. It was a carefully calculated psychological trap, designed to lure even the most cautious hogs deeper inside. Eventually, the results came. After days of monitoring, we captured a massive 140-pound boar along with its entire herd. They slammed into every corner, spun in circles, and viciously bit at anything in front of them. The entire steel post system shook violently under the raw power of the herd. But the harder they fought, the more exhausted they became. Every possible escape route had already been sealed shut. Controlling wild boars has never been about brute strength alone. It is a game of patience, tracking skills, and understanding the behavior of these animals with absolute precision. When field experience is combined with smart systems like Pig Brig, we are determined to protect the crops, land, and livelihoods of local farmers.
What would happen if radioactive wild boar herds suddenly flooded into farms? And if you had to face hundreds of thousands of them, what would you do to keep your crops safe? This is no longer a hypothetical scenario, but a reality that has forced farmers around the world to find solutions. The root of the problem traces back to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in 2011 in Japan, when a large amount of radiation was released into the environment, spreading across land and surrounding ocean areas. In that context, wild boars quickly became one of the most concerning species. They frequently forage in coastal areas, regions highly vulnerable to radiation, and gradually carry potential risks as they move closer to residential zones. Although exact figures remain unclear, many estimates suggest that millions of wild animals worldwide are exposed to radiation, mainly concentrated in Europe, Asia, and North America, regions that provide suitable habitats for this species. In some residential areas, the presence of wild boars has led to increasingly complex situations. Under growing pressure, authorities have been forced to organize control operations to limit dangerous individuals within the area. Specialized equipment is deployed to ensure both effectiveness and community safety. At the same time, the entire capture process is carried out under strict supervision to minimize negative impacts on the animals. Flexibility in approach and the ability to respond quickly have helped gradually bring the situation under control. Beyond protecting people, these measures also contribute to maintaining ecological balance. In particular, building fences is no longer just a temporary solution, but has become a long-term strategy. Residents in frequently affected areas clearly understand the level of damage to crops and orchards, so they are willing to invest significant resources to create stable protection for their livelihoods. To address the issue of radioactive wild boars, farmers have begun applying scientific methods to control the rapidly growing population. They carefully study the behavior and biology of the species, then develop suitable trapping systems. Traps are placed in forests where wild boars frequently appear, as well as in areas near farms, locations they tend to revisit repeatedly. These cage traps are designed discreetly to improve capture efficiency while ensuring safety. Bait is placed inside to lure the animals, and once a boar enters, an automatic mechanism triggers the door to close. This method is especially effective at night, when wild boars are most active, and helps prevent them from learning to avoid traps. To support the process, farmers also use specialized tools to handle them safely. In addition to cage traps, simpler methods are also used, such as sound-triggered traps, a low-cost solution that still delivers notable results. Some traps utilize large trees as anchor points, combined with bait and natural leaf camouflage to increase capture success. These approaches not only reduce costs, but also demonstrate adaptability to real-world conditions while minimizing the risk of affecting other species. Regardless of the method used, the most important factor remains careful consideration of environmental and ethical impacts. Wild boar control must be carried out safely, avoiding negative effects on ecosystems and preventing unintended consequences. Do you have a better solution? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos.
If this herd can survive tonight, what is preserved is not just a few rows of trees or a patch of farmland. It is an entire year of labor, days under the sun and wind, hours of constant care, all of which can vanish overnight if wild boars sweep through. In many rural areas across the United States, this scenario is no longer unfamiliar. It repeats itself again and again, silently yet devastatingly, as dozens of hectares of land are torn apart before the sun even rises. With wild boars, everything happens faster than human response capacity. They leave little time for thinking or preparation. Once a target is chosen, they move according to their own plan, quietly and with precision. Statistics show that even a group of 15 to 20 individuals is enough to destroy more than 1 hectare of crops within a few nighttime hours. And what is even more concerning than their destructive power is the way they learn. If not addressed early, the damage will quickly spiral out of control. Recovery costs are always far higher than initial prevention costs. And the longer it continues, the more cautious the herd becomes. Sound devices and simple deterrents may work at first, but over time, they gradually lose effectiveness. Wild boars learn very quickly. They adapt, remember, and adjust their behavior after only a few encounters. Instead of betting everything on a large-scale solution from the beginning, the first strategic step is surprisingly simple: set up a small trap for observation. This is not the stage for catching as many as possible, but for understanding the herd's behavior. Which one leads? Which one is the most alert? How long does it take for the entire group to enter the baited area? These seemingly minor details ultimately determine the outcome. Just one small mistake can cause the opportunity to disappear completely. If the herd detects any unusual sign, they may not return for days, even weeks. In wildlife control, understanding behavior is always more important than acting hastily. Patience in the early stage is an investment in long-term effectiveness. Once the herd's movement patterns and reactions become clear, the strategy begins to shift. The setup cannot remain unchanged for too long, as that would make the trap detectable. The trap height is adjusted, and the activation timing is recalculated with greater precision. When the herd's reaction time is reduced to a minimum, the chance of escape becomes almost non-existent. A drop trap does not need to be complex. What matters is timing. When triggered at the right moment, the entire herd has almost no time to scatter. Their herd instinct, the very trait that helps them survive, becomes their weakness. They move together, react together, and when captured, they are captured all at once. As a result, the damage is stopped at the source before it can spread. After successful captures, the trapping system continues to be refined. The mechanism becomes smoother, the structure stronger, yet without unnecessary complexity. Costs may increase, but every adjustment is based on real data collected in the field. Bait placement is optimized. Activation timing is fine-tuned. The goal is not the biggest trap, but the most suitable one for the specific conditions of each area. Ultimately, effectiveness does not come from scale, but from understanding. Understanding how the herd moves. Understanding how they react. And most importantly, understanding when to act. When these elements come together, control is gradually regained. If you have ever faced a similar situation, you will understand that this is not just a battle against an animal. It is a battle of patience, observation, and making the right decision at the right time. Block the right path, act at the critical moment, and above all, always comply with local regulations and work with experienced professionals to ensure safety for both people and the surrounding environment.
In this area, wild boars are no longer a rare sight. Reports from local authorities have repeatedly recorded their heavy presence around populated areas, along with clear recommendations for population control to limit the damage. The moment we arrived, we understood how serious the problem had become. The ground had been torn into long strips, and the soft soil looked as if it had been plowed by an invisible storm. The edge of the forest was covered with overlapping tracks, both large and small, showing that the whole sounder had been moving through here for many nights in a row. But in situations like this, rushing in is always a mistake. Every measure has to follow the proper procedure. Before doing anything, we worked with local authorities, completed the necessary permits, and agreed on a trapping plan. Only after everything was approved did the operation begin. We did not rush to set the trap. Instead, We took time to survey the terrain, follow the familiar travel routes, and choose an open patch of ground along a trail through the forest. Behind it was a line of trees thick enough to block visibility, while the front remained open enough for wild boars to enter naturally. Once the location was confirmed, the team assembled the trap frame, drove the stakes firmly into the ground, tightened every tie point, and secured the bottom edge of the net close to the soil. Every detail was checked carefully, because even one small mistake could ruin the entire plan. Once everything was finished, the trapdoor was left open. Bait was placed, and a camera was installed discreetly to monitor the site. Not long after, adult wild boars appeared. They approached, sniffed the air, and then cautiously stepped inside. Everyone held their breath. Then the trap was triggered. The net closed quickly and cleanly, and the boars panicked, searching for a way out, but there was no escape. Only a small group was held, but that was enough to confirm that the trap worked exactly as intended. From that result, we continued to expand. More traps were built in the areas showing the heaviest signs of damage. Each location was adjusted to fit the terrain, but the core principles remained the same: discreet, solid, and leaving no obvious trace. Everything was done quietly, step by step, with patience and calculation. Night fell faster than we expected. At the eastern trap, the thermal camera began to record the first movements. A few adults appeared and walked straight into the area as if they had already grown used to coming there for food. One by one, they entered. When the number inside was enough, and no individuals remained outside watching, the signal was given. The trap closed. Sound exploded through the darkness. Their heavy bodies slammed into the edge of the trap, shaking the whole structure violently. For the first few seconds, everything was nearly chaotic. But then the structure held firm. As the movement gradually slowed, we knew the situation was under control. The next morning, we decided to try a different approach, a simpler trap, deep in the dense forest. There was no steel frame or complex system, only bamboo, branches, and forest vines, carefully camouflaged beneath green leaves. It was a crude structure, yet almost invisible in the natural surroundings. When night fell, the forest sank into silence. Then a single wild boar appeared. It moved closer, step by step, unaware that anything was wrong, until the trap suddenly dropped. In a single moment, the silence was shattered. The simple bamboo frame did its job, holding the animal securely inside. A rough, primitive trap, yet enough to prove that sometimes effectiveness does not come from complexity. After confirming that everything was stable, The captured animals were handled using humane methods, fully in line with local regulations and with care taken to avoid affecting the surrounding ecosystem. There was no rushing, no reckless action. Standing among the traps we had just checked, I realized that the most important thing was not the number of animals caught, but the fact that the problem had been controlled properly and at the right time. Because if you only deal with animals one by one, the whole sounder will soon return, and next time, they will not make the same mistake again.